Soccerex connected, a very good afternoon. Ben Jacobs with you, day one from our brand new digital studios here in London. Good morning, of course, if you're in North, South or Central America. Do engage with us as well. That hashtag is Soccerex connected, and we're incentivizing you as well via social media. Perhaps you'd like to get your hands on a signed shirt from a variety of different people. You get to pick. I've got Edwin van der Sar, Louis Saha, Laurie Lindsay from the US women's national team, Deco, Carlos Alberto, and many, many more. Maybe from our next panel, we'll even persuade them to chuck in a shirt or two from either Leeds United or the San Francisco 49ers. Who knows? We'll ask nicely afterwards. But today is sponsored by the Johan Cruyff Institute, and as a result of the fact that Cruyff had a variety of different nicknames, including the Saviour and the Skinny One, we're simply asking you, what's your nickname, or what is your favourite football nickname? Make sure you tweet us at Soccerex and use that hashtag SoccerXConnected. And thanks to many of you who have already entered. P. Genosha has tweeted and said Roberto Baggio was called the Divine Ponytail Il Divino Codino. Thank you for your tweet. And I've had a couple for the baby-faced assassin, who is, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So keep engaging with us. And a reminder as well that via the app, you can see the full schedule and also interact with our exhibitors too. So please do stay connected, stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of the day. Let's move on then to our tea time panel now, which focuses on multi-sport ownership. We'll be looking at the advantages and also some of the challenges of owning teams across different sports and discuss whether there are significant commercial benefits and learnings. This is a particularly timely discussion for the San Francisco 49ers, who recently bought another £50 million stake in Leeds United. And I'm delighted to say that we've got representatives from both right now. We have Angus Kinnear, the chief executive of Leeds United. I nearly skipped over him because I'm a Leicester City fan, and they got a fantastic win, 3-1 against my side. Alongside him, Parag Marathe, the EVP of football operations at the San Francisco 49ers. Then we have Damian Willoughby, the CEO of City Football Group in India. Francisco Lopez is the senior partner and COO at Kapital Football Group. And Haritz Kerejeta is the CEO of Alaves Basquiona Group. And our moderator, last but not least, in a stellar panel. This is going to be one of the flagship discussions of Soccerex Connected. It's Antonio Di Cianni, the manager of Football Benchmark at KPMG. Antonio, good afternoon. It's over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, and thanks for all of our guests for being with us today for what, as you say, seems to be quite an exciting panel. I want to kick off straight away, and I wanted to start from Damian. A bit of an intro before shooting the first question. Manchester City has been purchased in 2008 by the Abu Dhabi Group for approximately £200 million. In the meantime, a lot of things have happened. The CFG expanded with 10 clubs in its portfolio in 10 different countries. As of January last year, we as KPMG estimated the enterprise value of Manchester City being approximately £2.2 billion, so more than a tenfold increase in 12 years. Also, again, in 2019, global PE firm Silver Lake made an investment of $500 million in CFG, which values the company, the whole conglomerate, at approximately $5 billion. So in this perspective, how can we, let's say, understand the involvement, the investment of CFG into the India market?
Thank you, Antonio. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or wherever everyone is joining from in the world. I think first and foremost, the City Football Group model we believe is original. It's a model that has significant breadth and depth to it. Obviously, as you referenced, we now have 10 clubs around the world that we have equity positions in. We recently added our first partner club in Bolivar to that mix in Bolivia. I think what you see across the group is a common mythology. You see a common way of operating, and you see that that's woven through the fabric of both our sporting operations, but also our commercial operations and how our clubs, manage on a day-to-day basis. So we've been able to unlock significant value by bringing this sort of reservoir of information, intelligence, expertise, knowledge that we possess across the group. And I think the sort of guiding principle when we've entered new markets is that by utilizing and deploying that skill set and that experience, that we're able to add value to the clubs in which we invest in, clearly, but also to the overall football landscape and ecosystem that exists in whether it's Major League Soccer or the A-League or in Chinese football or now subsequently in India. And clearly, we're hugely excited about the opportunity that exists in Indian football. The league here, the Indian Super League, is clearly in its embryonic phase this season, which is now currently taking place in Goa behind closed doors where I am. It's the 7th season, but we've seen tremendous growth in the league by any metric you look at: audience, reach, engagement, commercial value, sponsorship value, brand interest. So, we're really at the beginning of what we believe will be an exciting and compelling journey. And obviously in Mumbai City, we have a club that's centered in one of the world's great cities. Football is becoming more relevant. Clearly, there's a dominant sport in cricket, but we believe there's space and room for all sports to play. And so we're really excited when you look at the sport, but then you look at also the broader macroeconomics that are taking place in the Indian market in terms of obviously, a huge population at 1.38 billion, significant population under the age of 24, 623 million, obviously growing economic prowess and disposable income, strong media consumption. So when you look at all those macroeconomic features and the opportunity that exists for football and Mumbai City, so we couldn't be more excited about what the future holds for us here in this exciting market.
Thank you, and we will touch upon this also shortly. I want to jump to Angus, and also Angus, nice to have you here today. Again, a bit of an intro before my first question. We all know Leeds have come back to the Premier League after a long 16 years of absence. Last week, fresh news: 49ers Group increased its stake to 37%, its stake in Leeds to 37%, so adding further 25%, valued at approximately 50 million pounds. This would basically value the club approximately at 250 million pounds, and this, in European perspective, based on KPMG's valuation report, could position Leeds between the 30th and 40th position in Europe. But we know that recently Chairman Andrea Radrizzani declared how the goal in the short medium term is to fight with the top 6 in the EPL and to reach a club's value of 1 billion pounds. So is this increased commitment by 49ers Group another crucial step in this direction?
Absolutely, we see it as a foundation to reach Andrea's objectives. Andrea is a man who's not short of ambition for the club, and we've already shown that we can be successful. But we're just at the start of the journey. And Andrea said from day one that he wanted to take and find partners who could make Leeds United better. And we've had no shortage of offers from a financial perspective. But I think the challenge for us was finding an investment partner who could deliver more than just the equity investment. We think we found that with the 49ers. It starts from a values perspective. With Parag and Jed York, we have individuals who understand and have a passion for Leeds United, and that's very important to us as custodians, because that's why we're in this business, because we love the club and we're excited by the potential. But then beyond that, we found partners who have fantastic skills, whether it be commercially, from a brand building perspective, or technically from an elite sports perspective, who we think will be the pillars that we can build the success of Leeds on going forward.
Thank you. And again, we will also touch upon some of the points that you made shortly, so that we can understand even better how your business model is developing. Haritz, I go to you, and also thanks for being here today. We can say that the alliance between Deportivo Alaves and Club Deportivo Saski Baskonia is more of a, let's say, commercial alliance rather than an interplayer development, given we are talking about two different sports. So, but it's very much focused on in the Spanish territory, and especially in the Alava region. However, in the last few years, we have seen how even your group started to internationalize, and we have seen how you have made ownership of a football club in the Croatian First League, Istra, and also you have struck a partnership with a Finnish football club. So can you tell us how your strategy is evolving, Haritz?
First thing, good afternoon, Antonio. Thank you for the introduction. Baskonia is a basketball team that we have been running for more than 30 years. And 10 years ago, basketball business in Europe is not very big. So we saw the opportunity to buy a football club in Spain, which is Alaves. It was in second B division. Right now it's in first division in La Liga and running well. We manage both clubs, business side in the same way. Then as multi-sport club, every club has its own sport area. So we manage in the same way the business, but we don't mix the sports. And then in basketball, we can go, in basketball, Baskonia is top 3 team sending former players to the NBA. But in football, we have a very small market. We have big competitors like Athletic Bilbao, Eibar, Real Sociedad, Osasuna in the closed market. For that reason, as in our experience with Baskonia, we were first club going to Argentina to bring players 30 years ago. Through Bosman law, we were first team bringing Lithuanian players to Europe. So through that, we decided to go to other markets to find other talents. In basketball, we can bring talent to our local team, but in football, because of UEFA rules, we have to build it through other teams. It's an example like Istra, like Kagoshima, like Rudesh, and like, yes. So we need to build another history to bring talented players. And in this process, we found a lot of business opportunities. So we are helping companies to develop their business in Spain, in Croatia, in Japan. So there are, in our model, there are 2 ways. One, business network, and the other side, it's the sport business.
So the goal is to find the Luis Scola of football, Haritz.
Always.
Because he's one of the biggest players, correct me if I'm wrong, that you brought from Argentina to European basketball.
Yeah, Thiago Splitter or Thiago Splitter from Brazil.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you, Haritz. Francisco, I come to you now. Thanks also to you for this participation today. So we get a bit of the investor perspective now. We all know that Kapital Football Group is definitely keen to enter into the football industry again after the experience in France. My question to you again starts from a brief intro. So as KPMG, we have measured how the enterprise value of the top 32 football clubs in Europe between 2016 and 2020, so pre-pandemic, increased by 51%. However, we have also estimated a drop in value by approximately 20-30% nowadays because of the pandemic. So my question to you is it now the perfect timing to get into the football industry, Francisco?
Yeah, so good afternoon, Antonio. Thank you for having me here today. The answer to your question is yes, definitely. Yes, this is it's a good time for investors. It's not a good time and an easy time for football clubs. As you mentioned, the pandemic has had a significant impact that we all are aware on the sports in general and in football as well. No fans going to the stadiums, reduction in TV money, sponsorships that has come into default or been renegotiated. So there is a significant pressure on the finances of all the sports entities, I would say, and football in particular. We've seen the decrease in the revenues for the top teams, which are the ones with the strongest P&L, has been in the range of 1 billion compared to last season, a 12% reduction, which is significant. And at the end, this reduction that comes from the commercial side is affecting one of the main streams in business in football, which is the player investment, the player trading. The reduction in player trading, just looking at the two transfer windows, last summer and this summer, it's been a 43% decrease in the money spent in player trading. So this, as you know, the investment in players falls in a waterfall from the top divisions into the lower divisions. So this is affecting all the football ecosystem, from the top divisions in the top leagues to the smallest clubs in South America or in Africa, because there is a lack of investment going all the way down to the different clubs. So unfortunately for the clubs, this difficult situation creates opportunities for investors. There are many clubs that are having difficulties with their cash flows, having difficulties paying the players' salaries, or facing the payments on the debts. There has been some defaults in player transfers. And this is something, this is an issue that is affecting every single football league in the world, from Europe to Africa to South America. And most of the clubs, as you know, in the world, probably 90% or probably even more of the clubs in the world, they depend on player trading to make a living, to fix
to run the business
at the end of the season. So it's a very difficult situation for football clubs. And of course, it creates an opportunity for investors.
Thank you, Francisco. Damian, I get back to you, and touching on something that you were mentioning before during your, after your first answer. We have all read how a couple of weeks ago, earlier this year in January, CFG announced a new partnership. It has been announced as something different than with the other 10 clubs in the portfolio. So there is now this new partner, Club Bolivar, the most titled football club in Bolivia. So my question is, how does this partnership with Club Bolivar differ to Mumbai City and all the other 9 clubs part of CFG? And how did Bolivia come into play?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Obviously, as I said, we have a number of clubs in the portfolio. We have varying degrees of equity and ownership across the teams, from obviously Manchester City to Mumbai City to New York to Melbourne, etc. And the model that we've built and created, as I referenced before, enables us to utilize and exploit and leverage this wealth of information and knowledge and expertise, both from a sporting and a commercial and operational standpoint. So the relationship with Bolivar is one where we are giving them access to this thinking, this sporting expertise, this knowledge, this know-how about how to build winning teams and winning clubs and winning cultures, but also how we can support them as they look to build and develop infrastructure, which we've got significant experience in, given the projects we've undertaken not only in Manchester again, but the CFA facility we've built in New York, or the CFA that we've built in Melbourne. So again, we're through running and operating numerous clubs in different geographies and markets with different dynamics, we've been able to leverage and share this knowledge and expertise. And that's what we're doing with Bolivia, as they look to celebrate their 100th anniversary in a few years' time, as they again build on their preeminent position in Bolivian football. So I said it's a slightly different relationship for us, but again, one we're excited about. And looking forward to supporting their evolution and development as they establish the club in South America.
Thank you, Damian. Parag, I come to you now. We can say that the Leeds 49ers is a bit like the alliance, if we can make a comparison, that Alaves and Baskonia have. So we are talking about two different sports. So that's different from the CFG model. What can an NFL franchise learn from a European football club and vice versa? Is it mainly on the operational side? Is it on the marketing side? Or is it a bit of everything? You're on mute, Parag, you're on mute.
Oh, I shouldn't be on mute. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
Nice to
good.
see you.
Yeah, nice to see you, and thanks everybody for having me. I think that's a good question, and honestly, I can answer it this way: that professional sports has obviously become a multi-billion-dollar business with clubs worth billions of dollars, billions of pounds, billions of euros. But at its core, I think all of us are victim of maybe making it be a bigger deal and a more complicated deal than it actually is. Because at its core, we're just talking about players kicking around or throwing around a ball on the pitch or on the field, and off the pitch, we're talking about generating revenues via media rights, sponsorships, ticket sales, and concessions and hospitality. That's all it is. So whether you are running a local lemonade stand, community center, rec league, or whether you're running one of the biggest, most profitable sporting teams in the world, it's the same thing at its core. And so there are a lot of learnings, regardless of the size and regardless of the sport being played. Professional sports teams are all operating in the same way. And so for us, that's why one of the things that we like to talk about with, yes, we took a deeper investment, and yes, what was important to the media was talking about what percentage ownership we have and how much money we put in. But that's just money. That is not even secondary, but probably the tertiary most important thing that we're focused on. What we're focused on is the level of partnership and engagement and learnings that we can export over to Leeds, and that we can gain and glean from the club to the 49ers. There's just so much that we can do, because we each approach the world in a different way on different parallel paths, and there's things that we can share. Whether it's myself and Victor talking about different performance analytics on what athletic characteristics are good predictors of performance. Again, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing. There's different things that you can use that could be good predictors. The same thing whether someone on my team or myself is talking with Angus about how to maximize hospitality or how to modernize Ellen Road while capturing the aura and magic of Ellen Road. It's the same concept and the same thing. And so I personally know that everybody at the 49ers is very excited to spend more time at Leeds. And I personally believe that everyone at Leeds is excited to spend time with the 49ers, because it's going to make all of our jobs easier. It's going to make all of us smarter because of that cross sharing. And at the end of the day, like I said, at its core, we're just a sports team. We're just a sports club. We could be playing out here in our backyard and it'd be the same thing at its core.
Clear. Thank you. Haritz, back to you now. Something that I was interested in is, as I said before, you start from a pure local base, but then you internationalize yourself. So you had spells in Croatia, you still have in Finland, you had spells in Japan, in France. So my question now is, how do you identify the potential targets? Is it based on geography? Is it based on player talent pool? Is it on the, let's say, expectation of growth of the football market? And what are the differences between the ownership of a club, for example, Istra in Croatia, and the partnership with a club, for example, Hercules in Finland?
It depends on the business side. If it is a sports side, then we look for markets like Croatia, where the talent is very big, and we think that we can do a good job with our football methodology. and develop football players. And then in the business side, there are other bigger markets with bigger companies where we can be. So we make the decision depending on business or football or even basketball. So depending on this issue, we make the decision where to go. Why we went to Croatia? Because of the talent, of course. Croatian market did 56 million euro of transfers last market. I think more than the Spanish market. So that's why we went to Croatia. Finland, because it's a market where we are now opening a university, private university in the Basque Country. And our idea is the same, take that to university, to all the places where we are. And Finland, it's a very good place for IT companies. So we went to Finland because of IT companies to find and look how they work the startups industry in Oulu, in this case. And we found football, which is our business, a good and nice way to enter in the university and the society to get this knowledge of the IT industry.
And how was Japan chosen also back then?
Because inside of our group, we have a consultancy company, and there are different clubs all over the world that call us to get knowledge. So they call us to help them to develop their, in this case, both football and the business model. So we have this consultancy agreement, which is not ownership. It's a service that we are giving them, like we did in Sochaux, like we did in Sochaux in the past in France.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Francisco, again to you, we were saying again also before that, yes, the answer was yes. So there is definitely now an opportunity in the football space. And indeed, we are all witnessing how this COVID pandemic has seen an increase in football club investment, adding impetus to something that was already taking place before. Indeed, in the last couple of decades, football clubs, most of them, have been turning themselves into true and real media and entertainment companies. So they have started to have more stable cash flow, and this is obviously attracting investors. Nowadays, however, as you were also mentioning, clubs are unfortunately suffering from significant liquidity shortage, and all the revenue streams have been disrupted. So do you think that these challenges will give a rise to more and more multi-club ownerships in order to mitigate the crisis?
I think, as we said before, there is a significant shortfall in cash. This is creating a crisis in all the levels in football. And I think the only way to get out of this crisis is you cannot let the clubs do on their own to get out of the crisis. And not only the investment from investors, professional investors and funds are going to move around the situation. You need the governing bodies, you need the football federations, you need the leagues to work together with the clubs to be able to turn around this situation. But definitely this is creating more opportunities for investment. There is going to be, I think, a significant increase in the number of holding companies owning different clubs around the world. And from an investor point of view, I think the opportunity is there. As it has been mentioned before, there are two areas of the business. You have the player development and you have the commercial side. So not every club has the opportunity to develop the commercial side. It depends very much on the location, the facilities, your market, your value, your brand, etc. But for us, it's more important the player development side of the business, building the pathway to develop these players. And this is something you can definitely take advantage now on the different situation, on the situation of the different football leagues and the different football clubs in the world. So yes, I mean, I'm sure there is a lot of different organizations and funds looking at this, investing not only in football clubs, investing in leagues itself. Like you see in the Series A, there is a very advanced negotiations or an investment in the league itself. So if Nowadays, if an investor wants to achieve a return for an investment in football, you have to play global. I think the local game is still a good game, but it's not the best and the most efficient way of playing football nowadays. It has to be a global platform, or at least a multi-club platform, not necessarily global.
Clear. And we have started to receive a few questions from the audience. One that I think it's interesting, and I think this could be a good one for you. So, Kapital Football Group, or in general, General American Capital Partners, we have seen how different business models can work. Multi-club ownership in football, or also multi-sports. Are you looking specifically only at football, or do you envisage also a possibility of a multi-sport ownership in your case?
No, in principle, we are just looking at football investments. And as I said, we want to focus on the development of player on that side of the business. The other side of the business, as Parag said before, is very standard. I mean, every football club has the same tools and has the same source of revenues from the commercial side. And that can be improved in every single football club. Always there is room for improvement. But I think the differentiator factor comes from the pathway that one can build for the development of the players and the opportunity that you can bring these players to develop and go to market and generate revenues around that. For us, that's our main focus.
Clear. Thank you, Francisco. Damian, back to you. Again, something you were saying before, talking about Mumbai City more specifically. India is the second most populated country in the world. Yet the Indian football national team is only 104th in the FIFA ranking. So do you think that CFG's investment in the local market, so in the Indian market, can also boost football popularity overall and fight the cricket's actual dominant position?
Yeah, I think as I referenced, when you look at the sort of macroeconomics or sort of dynamics at play here, and the rationale for our investment into geographies and markets and leagues and clubs around the world. Yes, we want to build sustainable businesses in the different territories we operate, but we also want to support the development of football, both again from a sporting standpoint, but the commercial environment that we operate. So we are committed and focused on clearly building a winning squad and a winning team in Mumbai City. And touch wood, so far we're enjoying a great season, and that's because of the infusion of our expertise on the sporting football side from our colleagues in Manchester and around the world. But we also want to share that knowledge and that information to help the national team continue to improve. There's undoubtedly talented players. And as Francisco was referencing, it's about giving them the right pathways to develop, the right coaching, the right philosophy, the right infrastructure and facilities to hone their skill and their craft, and hopefully the long-term benefit of our involvement in Mumbai City and the Indian Super League will be felt at a national team level, because we clearly want the Indian national team to be performing and participating in the big global tournaments. Because again, the strength of interest, the strength of population, the strength of the economy, it would be clearly a galvanizing force and impact on the sport here. So ultimately, again, if we can develop talent, the benefit will be felt by the national team and their performances on the international stage.
So the goal is to have India hosting the World Cup or winning the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a stated ambition of China also, right? In big economies and big global
exactly.
Sort of developing, but it will be wonderful. And we've seen the transformative impact it had on US soccer back in '94. It laid the foundations for Major League Soccer, which is now obviously 25 years old, and the growth of the sport in North America and beyond has been fantastic. So yes, one would hope that's in the future for Indian football.
Thank you. Angus and Parag, that's one for both of you, or either of you, if any one of you prefers to answer. And it goes back a bit to the concept of value. So the San Francisco 49ers are one of the most valuable sport franchises as per Forbes at $3.5 billion. This is a valuation that as of now is a bit out of reach for Leeds, as we said before. However, on social media, the picture looks very different because the San Francisco 49ers boast 9.2 million followers, and the global followership of Leeds is narrower, but not as much as, let's say, as in value, because it's 2.3 million followers. So this is basically testifying how European football is capable of generating incredible passion and fan engagement. So my question is, how are the two brands working together from a brand commercial perspective?
Yeah, I'll take that first, Angus, and then you can go from there. I think this partnership was almost a match made in heaven because we have very similar bones and similar setups. Leeds, I've said this I've said this a few times over the last couple of weeks, that Leeds to me is very similar to the 49ers circa 1 decade ago, 10, 15 years ago, when at the time we were playing in the oldest unrenovated stadium in the NFL. We were a team with a storied history with great success in the 80s and the 90s, and then had fallen on some hard times on the pitch, on the field. And we went through a transformation led by Jed York, our owner, and myself. We figured out where to build a new stadium and finance a new stadium that enabled us to not just modernize our stadium experience, but increase our revenues to be able to be more competitive on the field. We transformed our organization to become much more successful to reach that valuation that you just mentioned, which I think is a little bit light, but we can talk about that later. That's what I see Leeds today. Leeds is right there on the precipice of having the opportunity to immediately accelerate and transform where they are, because they have all the roots and the bones. You just said it with the social media following, and I actually think that might be a little light, because this is a club with a fan. Yes, we are in the 3rd or 4th largest metropolitan area in the UK, but we have a fan base that spans the globe. We have a fan base where our sporting director, our GM of the 49ers, when he is a child, his mother and father come home with the Leeds United sweatshirt for him. I'm not even sure he knew at the time when he was a kid who they were, but that's how big this club is, where fans around the world. And it's almost it is changing now. It had been almost a dormant kinetic energy that was just percolating underneath the ground, that the moment that Leeds United had success in the Premier League, and the moment that we had demonstrated consistent success, it was ready to get ignited. And that's a global fan base. And do I think it has the chance and the opportunity to even surpass where the 49ers are today? Certainly, because of the global nature of this sport.
Let's not forget that 20 years ago, Leeds were playing the semifinals of the Champions League. So that's definitely exactly something that adds to what you say. Angus, do you want to add something on this?
Yeah, I think the synergies with the experience of the 49ers obviously make sense. The most important thing was they buy into the potential that we believe is there. And I've been saying for a long time, I thought that Leeds United were the most investable proposition in world football with the biggest upside. We've only just started to realise that, and there's still a lot more to come. In terms of how we're working together, though, I think that's important that people realise. Leveraging these synergies and learning from each other doesn't necessarily come easily. And what we've seen with the 49ers is a real commitment in terms of time and people and energy in trying to make the partnership work. And I think across world football, there have been these partnerships which seem sort of packaged up and presented to the world as strategic relationships that haven't perhaps delivered. And I think that's because sometimes people underestimate what it takes in terms of the commitment from executives and senior executives on both sides to make the relationship work. And that's why we feel that the relationship with the 49ers will be transformational, because we feel like, and I know they've got a big business to run at home, but we feel like we're a top priority for them. And I think it's that shared belief which will deliver the results.
Thank you, Angus and Parag. Haritz, I get back to you. As we say, football and basketball, in your case, what are the synergies that are taken advantage of between the two entities, between the football club and the basketball? And also, are there plans to invest in other entities, in other sport entities in Alava or somewhere else?
No, right now we are also in eSports. We were first club, first Spanish organization winning the Spanish esports competition in League of Legends. So, and I think first or second club in the world being on the esports some years ago. Some years ago also we had an ice hockey team, but in Spain it's not a big business, so we decided to stop with that business. And of course, our idea is both in consultancy and owning clubs. We are looking for opportunities in France and in England, which are main, from our point of view, main markets to invest.
Thank you. Interesting. We are approaching the deadline, so trying to give some shorter questions from my side. Damian, back to you. Tell us something about the framework that is in place at CFG when evaluating possible club acquisitions.
I think we touched upon it earlier in the session. It really is about finding markets where we believe that the CFG machine and vehicle and knowledge can grow the club that we're investing into or working with. And you know, we've done that successfully across the world, and we continue to see significant growth in these geographies and markets where we're invested in. But I think it's looking at football markets with significant upside, as many have referenced, in terms of investment opportunity and enterprise value growth. But where we feel that this sporting and commercial know-how and nous really brings value to the clubs in which we invest in. And I think that's probably the precursor. Do we think we can go in and make a difference at its core and at its most basic level? And I think we've been able to show that in all the investments we've made in places like Japan, where the Yokohama Marinos won the title for the first time in 15 years. Recently, because of, again, the expertise and the footballing knowledge that we have that helped them build a winning championship squad. So, you know, on the commercial side, we've been able to help Mumbai City grow its commercial revenues in under 12 months because of the global connectivity of our sales function and our marketing arm, and bring brands into the Indian market that maybe wouldn't have known how to approach it or how to invest. So I think, again, at its most simple, basic level, it's can we go in and make a difference, and can we add value on both sides of the equation, sporting and business. And so we've been able to successfully do that and improve and refine and hone as we've got better at this and done it more often across different geographies with their own sort of unique nuances and geographic challenges. So.
Thank you. Francisco, something for you. There is definitely a difference in the business model between American sport and European football. So while American sports tend to pursue profitability maximization, European football is more, let's say, towards utility maximization, which is maximizing on-pitch success, lifting trophies. So there are different regulatory frameworks in place, of course, for example, open versus closed system. So the existence of a promotion and relegation system against the absence of it. So how do you, how should an investor like yourself deal or combat such challenges in first place?
I think, as you just said, Antonio, it's difficult to compare the two because there is a very significant difference, which is the franchise system that gives protection to an investor in the sense that there is no relegation.
Exactly.
And no impact on the commercial and revenue side, which is the main source of revenues in the American sports franchises, is an entertainment industry. The difficulty that you have in football, not only in European football, in everywhere in the world, is that you have the relegation concept. And this adds a lot of risk. So the players become your main asset. So the money that you generate in a football club goes to buy players, goes to pay player salaries, and the players are basically your main stars in the show. If you have a show, they are your stars in the show. So for me, the most critical position or the most critical element of know-how in being successful in a football club, for me, is the football director, because this position is the one that is gonna pick up the different stars for the show. So if you pick the wrong player, the impact on the financials of the club could be significant. It could drown you down. You can lose the investment, you pay massive salaries, you are bound for a 3, 4, 5 year
multi-year contract.
So it's very difficult. This is the most critical position. And I'm not taking credit out of the business side, but the decisions, the critical decisions, are taken on the football side. The business side works together with the football side. It supports, it helps. They have to be together necessarily. There is a joint venture between the two of them, the decisions. But definitely the most important thing to play and to be successful in football is knowing about football. And football means the game of football. So for me, that's the most important. And from our side, we have the capabilities and we have the experience and we have the know-how, and we're ready to move on our investments and start developing.
Ready to face the challenges and overcome them.
Of course, yeah. But that's part of the game. That's the beauty of the game.
Absolutely,
The
exactly.
unpredictability of the
Definitely.
game. Yeah.
Thank you. Parag and Angus, I get back to you guys. What are the, let's say, the strategies? What are the two clubs, or club and franchise technically, doing in terms of collaboration to maximize the commercial offer to partners? And is the group leveraging the brand power of the 49ers to promote Leeds in the US, or vice versa, or both of them?
I think it's a little early to say how we are combining our commercial power with respect to partners. It's just, we're still in the nascent stages of our partnership, and Leeds just got promoted to the Premier League this year. So we're still sort of developing how that works and how that link will be mutually beneficial to both of our partners. But on the second side, I think already what has been demonstrated from our initial investment 2.5 years ago to today is there is a little bit of a groundswell of popularity for Leeds United here in the US. I think a lot of that, much of that is sparked by our investment and our involvement in the club, and how much we enjoy talking about the club. And you know, the one data point that comes to mind right now that I can speak to is the opening match of Liverpool Leeds, which we fell a little bit short. But that opening match was the single highest watched Premier League game in the history of sports in the United States, of watching Premier League. So I think it was something like almost 1.6 million viewers. And no Premier League game here in the US had ever reached that kind of viewership. And so, yes, obviously Liverpool had just come across winning the league last year, but it's not by coincidence. It's because Leeds is gaining more popularity here because of our involvement.
Clear. Thank you. Angus, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think we've seen the interest peak, and we know that the partnership has raised the interest in the US. And Parag's right. You know, we're at the start of how we go about commercializing that. But the first phase of our journey and the first pillar of the strategy was to get Leeds out of the Championship. But the reality is, in the Championship, you don't have the international exposure to make the types of partnerships you should have with the 49ers relevant. And now we're at the start of that position. And what we have done, though, is focused with the 49ers on working out, you know, what is our footballing DNA and what's the product we're going to serve up. And I think we've defined something which is really clear and is powerful and is engaging audiences across the world. And that doesn't come about just by accident.
Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. I think that we have run out of time. We have reached our deadline. So I guess that's a wrap. I want to thank both Angus and Parag, obviously Damian, Haritz, and Francisco as well. From me, that's it. I hand back the line to our friends at Soccerex, to Ben and our friends at Soccerex. Thanks everyone for being with us today.